I'm Danica, and this is Couponing and Cooking with the Gabbs. Now, for this episode, I'm going to be showing you guys my grandmother's recipe, and this is her famous 7-Up pound cake. So, this is an actual scratch cake. This is not a box cake. So, I'm going to be showing you guys how my grandmother taught me to make this cake years ago. This recipe she wrote down was from 1988, but I'm quite sure that she's been making this recipe way before that. But I was born in 82, so this cake is what I grew up with. Okay, come on, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, now, this is what you guys are actually going to need for this recipe. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the ingredients. It's going to be 3 cups of flour. Now, this is not all-purpose flour that we're going to be using for the recipe for the actual cake. What I have is called Soft to Silk, or you can use the other one called Swan's Down. This is a very rare thing for some odd reason now, so I had to do an online order for Walmart for this, and I did get it for, I think it was $2 and maybe 80 something cents, and I got 2 of these. But on Amazon, Swan's Down is like $12 a box. So just a heads up on that. We're going to be using Soft to Silk today. And then also what you guys are going to need is 2 1/4 cup of sugar, 6 egg yolks, 1/2 cup of butter, 1/3 of a cup of 7-Up or any other lemon lime soda or pop you have. And then we're going to be using 1 teaspoon of each vanilla, coconut, and lemon extracts. Now, what I have are pure extracts. If you guys have the imitation, you can use that as well, but it's a little bit better with the pure extracts. They're pricey, but it is worth it for this cake. Okay, now this pan right here is just a bundt pan. Now, I shouldn't have said just a bundt pan. Actually, I had a lot of reserves for years for doing this recipe because I wasn't sure if I wanted it out to everyone. But I thought about it again this year and just said, well, what better way to honor my grandmother than to put out one of her most popular recipes, a 7-Up pound cake. So this bundt pan is hers. I kept it. And it's very old. I can't tell you when she bought this, but I kept it, and this is what I'm going to use today. But you guys can get, like, this one is like, I think maybe like a flower look on it, but you can get any one you like. They have the little flat ones too if you don't like the floral decoration, but you just need a bundt pan. Now, what we're going to do first is we're going to take just some regular butter, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grease the inside of this bundt pan. Now, you don't want to put a whole lot of butter, just enough, and what that's going to do is to prevent our cake from sticking. Now, after that, we're going to put a little bit of all-purpose flour. We're just going to sprinkle this really lightly. We're going to dust the inside on top of the butter, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that right now. And what you're going to do is just take a little bit on your fingers. A little bit does go a long way. And you're going to make sure you get the little pipe thingy on the inside as well. Make sure it's nice and slippery. Okay, and if you guys can see, it's just like a little light glazing on it from the light shining on it. That's all you need, because pound cakes require a lot of butter already. So we are not going to just cake butter inside of this pan in hopes that it turns out well. That's not what you do. All you want is basically kind of a slip layer so that when you invert this pan, when you're done with it baking, then it's going to just slide out and it's not going to be missing pieces. And also, guys, please be sure to wash your hands prior to cooking and baking anything. Because, I don't know, for me, I use my hands more than I use anything else, depending on what it is, whether it's savory or baking. So always keep your hands clean. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the all-purpose flour or whatever flour you have. And we're just going to do a really light dusting inside of this cake pan. Now all I got was just a little pinch of flour and just sprinkled it around. Now what I like to do for all of my cakes, whether it's a regular round cake or one that's decorative like this, is I like to pat it. And as you pat it, it goes around through the sides. Now I'm just showing you this right here. I'm going to take this over to my sink because this can get a little bit messy. Okay guys, now what you're going to do is set your oven to 325 degrees. This is preheating. So this is going to be a very low and slow cake. It's going to bake for an hour and 15 minutes. So if you guys do not have the time to do this cake, don't do this process. You have to have at least a good day to yourself to execute this cake properly. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next step. Okay guys, and then also you guys did see I had a very large cookie sheet on my stove. I do put the bundt pan on the cookie sheet in the oven, and I take out the top rack and just let it sit right smack in the middle of my oven and just let it have its own little time right there, its own little home. That's because I have done this cake a couple times before in previous years, and it did bubble over on me. I filled it up a little bit too much. That was my fault. But just as a safety precaution, I would just advise, one, don't fill it up too much, your bundt pan meaning, and two, put a cookie sheet under the bottom. I have like an old one that I really don't use for cooking or anything. So if I make a mess on it, it's not going to bother me too much. Okay, now for the next step, what we're going to do is start creaming butter and sugar. Now once again, for the butter, you're going to need 1.5 cups. A half a cup of butter, and I mean butter. I'm using salted butter. If you guys prefer unsalted, you can use that as well. I haven't found that it makes much difference in the consistency of the cake. But today I have salted. So 8 tablespoons is going to equal a half of a cup. So that means we do need 3 sticks of butter to equal 1.5 cups. So we're going to go ahead and put that in our mixing bowl. Now also guys, if you have a stand mixer, which my grandma did, I don't know why I've never bought one. As much baking as I do every year, I have not bought a stand mixer. But this is my grandmother's bowl from her stand mixer. I don't know, we had issues when she passed and I couldn't get the whole stand mixer, so I ended up just with the bowl. Fine, whatever. But I do have a hand mixer, which still works perfectly just the same, either way. Now, if you're hand mixing, get ready for some arm exercise. So, yeah, if you were looking to start exercising, this is the perfect cake for you without a mixer. Our butter in our mixing bowl. Now next you're going to add your sugar, and once again it's going to be 2 1/4 cups. So this is 2 cups here, and I took a separate measuring cup and just added another 1/4 cup to this. So we're going to pour that right on in. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and cream this together completely. Okay, and then also what I like to do is go through it and just scrape it. So make sure you have like a spatula. That's what I'm using because it kind of scrapes really well. Or a spoon will do as well. Also, by the way, guys, when you are preheating your oven, make sure you move your bundt pan. Don't leave it sitting on the stove because it's going to melt your butter and you got flour in it, and that's going to be a big fat mess. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, and that's going to be our extracts. All of them are going to be 1 teaspoon. So I'm going to add my lemon extract first. Now this one is almost gone. This is McCormick. So once this is gone, I have another one, J.R. Watkins. I've seen it a lot, but I've never tried it. Okay, that wasn't even a whole teaspoon. So I'm going to add just a couple drops of the J.R. Watkins one. Okay, now I'm going to be adding 1 teaspoon of coconut. Now, this one is imitation coconut, but like I said, whether you have imitation or pure, it doesn't really make much difference. And it smells really, really amazing. Now, I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and just beat that on in. Okay, guys, for the next part, we are going to start adding in that cake flour. Now, I have mine. Now, I did sift this one time through just a regular manual sifter, just to make it a little bit more fluffy. You can do that for the Soft as Silk or the Swan's Down to make sure that there's no little hard balls in there. Or they say it's already sifted, but my grandmother always re-sifted her. She actually did it 3 times. I think that's a little overkill, so I only do mine one time. So I'm not going to add this whole entire thing at one time. I'm going to add it maybe half first and then go back and do the last half, because it's going to get a little bit tough for my hand mixer. Now, I will say, get ready for the workout, because this part is going to be a little bit tough. Okay, now always be sure to clean out your beaters as well. I did clean them out when I did the first half of the cake flour, so that it wouldn't be so tough for it to, you know, start off with for the second half. It wouldn't be just cake batter, just caked into the beaters. I wanted to give it a little bit more of an easy time. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this from the bottom just to make sure I do not have any additional cake flour lingering underneath. And it's going to be like a little bit of a dough-like consistency at this point. Okay, now here is your next part. You're going to need 6 large eggs. Now what you need to do is separate your yolk from your white. You do not want to have any white in your yolk, which is the slimy part of the egg, and you do not want any yolk, the yellow part, in your whites, especially that one, because what we're going to do is we're going to beat, and I'm going to show it to you guys, our egg whites and fold it in lastly before we get ready to put it in our bundt pan. So for now, we're going to start adding our eggs, our egg yolks, and we're going to add them one at a time. Okay, now we're done adding all 6 of our egg yolks. So this is what it looks like, and it has a little bit of a yellowish tint to it. So for the next part, we are going to be adding 1/3 of a cup of 7-Up or lemon lime soda, whichever you prefer. And be sure that when you add this, you do it just a little bit at a time. Okay guys, now this is what it looks like after you add your 7-Up. Now as you can see, the consistency did change. It's not dough-like anymore. Now it's more cake batterish. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to the next part, which is going to be our egg whites. Okay guys, here's the next part of what we're going to do for our egg whites, because this is going to be folded into our cake batter. Now make sure you wash your beaters and everything off really well, and make sure they're clean and dry. We don't want anything contaminating our egg whites. Now to do egg whites, that's all you have in your bowl. Make sure there's no water or anything in here, because that will compromise what you're trying to do, which is basically a meringue. So we're going to beat this on the highest setting on either your stand mixer or your hand mixer. And you're going to start seeing this change, and it's actually really magical. Okay, let's go ahead and get this beat. Okay guys, this is what it looks like. Basically foam. But it is what you, if you guys are making like a meringue, a lemon meringue pie, or sometimes a key lime pie will do something to this effect. You can do this for that as well, but it's basically the same thing. And what it does is make your cake really super light and fluffy. Now let's go ahead and get this folded into our batter so we can get it in the oven. And also guys, I should have said it in the beginning, to make sure that your butter, when you start off, has been sitting out for some hours or overnight. Make sure it is very room temperature. So we're going to add half of this. And what we're going to do is not beat this in, we're going to fold it in. So this is easier done with a spatula. But like I said, if you only have a spoon, you can use that as well. So folding is literal folding. We are not stirring, we are folding. And once this is fully incorporated, we're going to add the other half and do the exact same thing, fold it in. Okay guys, here is our bundt pan, all buttered and floured. Now we're going to go ahead and pour in our batter. Now when you pour this, just pour it right on around and try to get it as equal as you possibly can on all sides. Oh, it's good. And if you guys just so happen to get it up around the sides, it's a little bit difficult sometimes for me to get it all just even as I don't know what. But but just take a clean piece of paper towel and wipe it, or just take a clean dishcloth or something like that and wet it, and then wipe around your sides. Now what I also like to do is shake it, and this helps to get it even more even so that you have just a flat surface on the bottom of the cake. Now I'm gonna have a whole bunch of batter up on the sides to clean up, but that's okay because I have a bad habit of eating it anyway. And this is my childhood right here, guys. So yeah, I grew up just eating this and staying up under my grandmother watching her do this. As a matter of fact, before we pop this in the oven, I'm going to show you guys the recipe card. This is the actual recipe card that she wrote for this cake. You can see she wrote 1988 here, but she had really bad arthritis. So if I wasn't up under her and watching her do this every year, at least 2 to 3 times a year, she did this mainly for holidays, Easter sometimes, and then she would make it indefinitely for Thanksgiving and for Christmas, and everyone requested this cake. So if I wasn't up under her watching her do this, there would be absolutely no way I could read this. So I just wanted to show it to you guys. Okay, let's go ahead and get this in the oven. Okay, here is our cake, and yeah, I got that right there, but like I said, I'm probably going to just eat it. once it's baked. This is once again going to bake at 325 degrees, and that's going to be for an hour and 15 minutes. Now, another thing that I love to do, that my grandmother taught me years and years ago, was to take a toothpick and stick it down into like the thickest parts of the cake right here in the middle part of the bundt pan. And if it comes out with batter, it is not done. Put it back. That's any cake, not just this one, because I'm also going to be doing a German chocolate cake. So all my cakes, I always do the toothpick method. And if you stick it in there and it's just completely clean, or a little couple of bits of cake on there, like done cake, then yes, this is completely done. You can take it out and set it to cool. Now, word of advice, because this did happen to me. When you put this out to cool, let it cool at least maybe a good hour to an hour and a half. I mean, completely cool. Do not invert it. Just take it, and I'll show you guys when I take this one out. I have like the baking racks and different things like that on a clean towel on my table. The towel does not have to be wet. Just leave it there. Leave it alone. Do not put it in a draft. If you put it in a draft, this is a scratch cake, not a box cake. It will cave in. And one year that did happen to me, and you guys know I was mad as sin. So just word of advice, do not put it near a door or a side patio or anything. Just put it somewhere room temperature and let it cool off and do its own thing. Okay, let's go ahead and put it in the oven, and I'll come back with you guys when we take it out. Okay guys, now our pound cake is out of the oven, and I did put it on my table, which is has a towel with one of the cooling racks. Now it sat here about maybe a good hour and a half. So while you're waiting for it to cool, what you can do is make a phone call, vacuum, wash dishes, or something else to that effect. Just go do something else. So once it is done cooling, I do have a glass cake plate right here. I did put it on top of the pound cake, and I did invert it that way. So here it is here. So let's just hope and pray that it did not stick. Yay! Maybe a couple of little crumbs right here, but I'm not mad at all. Seeing as though that's my grandmother's bundt pan that's been around for many generations, I think it still did a wonderful job. It's nice and brown and everything. And I did do the toothpick method in the middle, just to make sure that it was completely done and it came out completely clean before I took it completely out of the oven. Okay, now at this part, you can actually leave this the way it is and just eat it from here if you want to. But this is Thanksgiving for me, so this will be here until Thanksgiving for the next couple of days, basically. So the next part that my grandmother used to do was make the icing. So I'm going to move this to the side really quickly. And all you need for that, it's not a direct measurement. She never had anything written down, but it's like super simple that you don't need to write it down. You just need a bowl, any bowl, it doesn't matter, and a spoon. And then you're also going to need some powdered sugar. And then, now this will be your own personal taste. If you want to, you can put in a half a teaspoon of the same lemon extract that we used in the cake itself. And then just extra if you wanted to. You can use a little bit of yellow food coloring. Now, last year I didn't, but the year before that I did. So pretty much I kind of alternate depending on how I feel. This year I think I will use the yellow food coloring since I'm doing it in a video, just to show you guys what it looks like on the cake. So let me move this out of the way. Oh, and then you also need water. Sorry about that. Now we're not going to possibly use all of this. I just put it in a measuring cup. Okay, so I don't really have a direct measurement of the powdered sugar because I would say it's to taste, however much icing you want, because what we're going to do is drizzle this over the pound cake. This is not like a direct icing like you would do just a regular box cake or something like that. This is a drizzle. So I would say I'm going to put maybe a half a cup into this bowl. And I say do a half a cup at a time, because once you put the water in it, it's going to dissolve just about instantly. Now I'm going to take my water and I'm just going to drizzle it into the powdered sugar. Just a little bit at a time. Don't just pour it all in. And just kind of stir it up as you go. And that's going to let you know whether you need more powdered sugar or more water, because it should be just about kind of sort of thick enough to drizzle. And I think I got just a tinge bit too much water, so I'm going to add a little more powdered sugar. And any brand powdered sugar you want to use is perfectly fine. It's not brand specific. So I'm going to say that that's a cup now of powdered sugar. Okay, now here is my icing. Now, I guess I will call this more of a kind of a glue-like consistency, a little bit more on the thicker side. You can make it how you want to. If you want it on the thinner side, use more water, a little bit more water. Now, less is more with the water. If you want it on, like this on the thicker side, use less water. So after that, I am going to take my lemon extract and I'm putting in just a half. Now I can eyeball that, but it's a half a teaspoon. You extracts, especially for pure, you only need a little bit. Okay, that's it. And the smell is amazing. Just lemon, lemon, lemon. Like you just fresh squeezed the lemon. And you just mix that right on in. And if you don't want as much lemon smell or, taste to it, you can use less than a half a teaspoon. Now, for food coloring, once again, less is more. You only need a few drops. Okay, so I added 3 drops to mine. I like the yellow to the icing. It's really nice and vibrant and refreshing looking to me. Now, once again, that's optional. You don't have to do that. I think it's just fun. Sometimes my grandmother would do the same thing. Some years she would add it. Some years she wouldn't. Just all depends on how you feel. Okay, now here's our yellow icing. Okay, now let's go ahead and get our pound cake. If you want to leave, I like to leave the little crumbs there because, I don't know, usually this cake does not make it to Thanksgiving. So I'll go past and pick a couple pieces off or something. Now all you have to do is just take a scoop and drizzle. Drizzle as much or as little as you like. And make sure you do get it to drizzle down on the inside part where that little pipe thing was as well. And then this is where your creativity comes into play as well. You can make whatever design you choose. Now my family, we love the back and forth drizzle. So that's what I'm doing right now. And this is going to harden in just a few, maybe about, I'll say 7 to 10 minutes. Doesn't take long at all for powdered sugar to dry. Now, I will say that this is the first time I've ever actually filmed myself doing this cake. So, I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I have throughout my childhood, because we grew up with this cake. This was a staple in my grandmother's house. And even my children, which were her great-grandchildren, can testify to that. The holidays are just not the same without this cake. And sad to say, I'm about the only person in my family that can make it. whilst they make it like her. Anybody can make a pound cake, but everybody cannot make her pound cake. So I feel very blessed that I stayed by her side in the kitchen every year, and I was able to pick up on everything and remember a lot of the things that she taught me to do in the kitchen. Because like I showed you guys that recipe earlier in the video, that was pure chicken scratch. She had really bad osteoarthritis, so when she was writing things out, majority of the time they were very illegible. So like I said, had I not been there physically, I would not have been able to do it. And she would say, Danica, wash out this bowl. Come crack these eggs. And she showed me how to separate egg yolks properly by hand. I do not use any devices or anything like that. And I was able to show my son Damien and my daughter how to do it. So I feel very blessed that I was able to pick those things up, because those are some of the things that a lot of people take for granted that are not worth anything monetarily. Those are just some of the things that you keep for your life. Okay, guys, that's it. This is my grandmother's 7-Up pound cake. So I really hope you guys enjoyed baking with me today. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And happy cooking and couponing with love, and happy holidays. Bye.
Just wanna dance, want a simple romance, nothing more, nothing less from you. Just stay the night, then we leave when it's like nothing wrong, it's alright with you.